Am I live? Fucking live. Oh my god, I'm live! Anyway, I have to shut this other thing off that's making noise. There we go. Hi everyone, today I'd like to talk about changing guitar strings. I've been thinking about doing this video for a couple of weeks now, and I'm finally getting around to it. I'm not young anymore, and when I was younger, I wanted to play the guitar real bad. And I had this habit of not going to people that could teach me how to do things. I would just do them and do them wrong, and somebody would come by and correct me. So I was very lucky. Hang on one second, I want to get my coffee. I was very lucky. When I graduated high school, I moved to Long Island, and I was very lucky to meet up with some guitar players that really, took guitar playing seriously, and gear and technique, and I was taught something that stuck with me for many years. And so I thought that if I went on stream and went on live, maybe I could share that wisdom with guitar players that might want to learn what I learned, I guess. So the project that I have for today is going to be, it's an Ibanez acoustic. Now, Ibanez is a company that's been around for a long time. They're mostly known for their electric guitars. But I bought this used a while ago, and you can't see it too well, but it does what any guitar does eventually. The strings go, they get old and they wear out, and the brightness and the tone of the strings they don't really resonate like they should maybe. So the trick is, after you hear the deadness and you don't hear the brightness anymore, you tell yourself, maybe it's time to change some strings. So this is long overdue. I figured maybe I would do it on stream, and people could learn, if they're interested, the process of changing strings and whatnot. Now, this particular instrument has been good to me. However, I'm noticing now that there's what they call fret buzz. When you play the guitar and you fret a note with your finger, it's supposed to ring out. That rings out pretty good right there. But as I climb the neck, you get to hear, as you can hear, it's not so good anymore. There's an issue either in the neck or in what they call the bridge, which is, so when I change the strings, I'm gonna have to add what they call a shim. I have to put a shim underneath the bridge to raise it ever so, high, so that it'll ring out and not be dead. So first thing that I usually do is put the guitar kind of on the floor like this, or some people put it on a bench. They like to lay it down. I like to do this. It's just my thing. The tuning peg has tension in it, and it tightened the string to a certain tension, and you need to go the opposite way. Make sure you're... Now, you can do it by hand. It's a little slow process, or you can do what they call a string winder. Now, I found this the other day in a music store, and I absolutely love it. The old days when you would go to change strings, you probably need 4 tools and you have to lay them all out. Well, somehow this company, TheJerShow, it was in Farmingdale, New York, they came up with this tool that has everything on it. There's a string winder, like I mentioned. There's a clipper for the string to take the string off, and then there's a peg puller, which usually is a separate tool, or they'll end up putting the peg puller on, on the string winder part, and you take this piece of plastic and you try to pull it out. Well, this is a little different. And I haven't used it up until today, so I'm kind of curious as to see how this new peg puller works, and I'll show you that in a second. Once you get the string with the string winder like all the way down, this actually makes it faster, the winder, because it winds quicker. And it's the same for when you put the string back on. So you want to get to the point where you get all of the string to the point where you'll be able to pull it out of the hole. It's actually, there's a hole in the peg where the string goes through, and I'll show you that in a second. So you basically, once you get it out, then what I usually do is see if the peg is loose. Like, kind of take it and wiggle it. As you can see, it's moving a little bit, so that it needs a little maintenance. It needs a tiny Phillips head screwdriver in the back to tighten it back up, because it's supposed to stay tight without movement. So now that that's off, you want to do the same procedure with the next one. You want to come down. If the pitch is going up, you're going the wrong way. You need it to go down. And you can use a string winder or not. I think the reason why a lot of people like to put their guitars on the bench is because it's just easier to sit and do this. And if you work at Parkway in Clifton Park, or if you're a guitar person like the guy that in Queensbury that works on guitars at North Country, up the road from me, you want to be able to do this quick, because you want to pump out the work in the guitar, so the string winder comes in really handy. But if you're just like one guy, you're just doing a little string job once in a while like me, then you don't really need that. It does help though. So I got 2 strings off. I'm going for the third, and this one is going kind of rough. So it's telling me that maybe this needs a little adjustment too. So I got pretty much 2 tuning pegs at the top that are loose. So after I change the strings on this, I'm going to have to get a Phillips head screwdriver, a small one, and tighten those screws up so that it's not loose anymore. The ones on this side don't seem to be too bad. How low can you go? So yeah, I'm on the third one. You just keep winding and winding and winding and winding and winding until it gets loose enough to pull it out of the hole. And metal against metal will wear down your peg, so I think it's a good practice when you take the string out to kind of do it lightly and not force it, because the more you do it, the more wear you get, and then you have to replace your pegs eventually. But I'm just sliding it out easy. La 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 la, I'm just changing my strings on Twitch and Facebook and YouTube. All right. Yeah, I'm a multi-platform streamer. Anyway, so now that all the strings are hanging like this, the next is the peg puller. Okay. Now, as I said before, some peg pullers are separate. Some people use pliers. The only problem with that is if you squeeze too tight with your pliers, you can break the peg and then you have to buy a new peg. And if you don't have extra pegs sitting around, it's kind of a pain in the butt to say, I gotta go to the store just to get one peg. So if you have the money, like, get an extra set of pegs in case, you're changing your strings. And oh my, and the music stores love it when you spend money, believe me. Drinking good coffee. It's Maxwell House Max. All right, let's see how good this peg puller is. Oh, I love it. You basically go over the top of it and just pull it out that way instead of the old way was like this. That's pretty damn cool. Let's see that again. Go over the top, push it in. It locks so you don't go by it as you're putting pressure on it, and then you just pull it out. Oh my God, this thing is amazing. $9 I paid for this at the music store. $10 for this thing. Now I haven't used a string cutter yet because I'm not at that stage of the process, but you have to take all the pegs out first. And your pegs don't even have to match. It's nice if they do, but they don't have to. Oh, this one is giving me a little trouble. All right, so just for the record, if you buy this tool and you go to change pegs, make sure that you're centered, because if you go by it just ever so slightly, it won't come out. So, yeah, there. All the pegs are out, all the strings are out. Now, I like the company TheJerShow. I've been with them for years. I actually used to live down the road from the company on Long Island because they're out of Farmingdale, New York. And the great thing about their strings is they're color coded. See the ends? See the ends there? Each string has its own color to it. So, I mean, when you change the strings and you're looking at the different gauges, you can tell the difference. But it helps, the colors help because there's a color key to each one. So basically what I do with my strings is I have them all in my hand and I roll them up kind of like in a circle, and then I take the string and I tuck it through so it creates like a little knot, so that way they don't come flying back out. And then I'll throw them away. You really should. You can't really recycle the strings, I don't think. Maybe you can. But I know with TheJerShow you can recycle the packaging. They actually have a program for recycling the packaging. And it's kind of cool. They have points. They're called players' points. And when you save your old packages and you send them back to the company, they actually give you rewards, gifts. There's a catalog of things you can buy with the points. I've bought, I had a pint glass at one time. You know, me being the former drinker, that you bet I bought that pint glass. Anyway, so the strings that I'm going to use today they're called 80-20 bronze. Bronze is a very bright string. They last a while. It's described as deep, bright, and projecting tone. Kind of like James Earl Jones, you know. Hey, I'm deep and bright. Anyway, just kidding. So I will save this packaging with the other string packs that I use, because I have probably 4 guitars. And then send that back to the company, and you can get items. T-shirts, you know, I don't know. It's been so long since I looked, I don't even really remember. But they do stuff online too, as far as like, right here on the package it says Player Circle code. Player Circle is like a club that Diodario has for sending stuff back, and you earn points and you use the codes and they'll send you all kinds of nice gifts. But anyway, back to the string changing part. It's changing the strings themselves, not really rocket science, but there is one little thing about it that I always try to mention that's very important to keeping the guitar in tune. And when I started this video, I came out saying that when you're younger, you think you know, but you don't, and then somebody shows you something. Well, the thing I was shown was by a guitar player named John Gatto. They call him the Cat. He was famous for his time in a band called the Good Rats. I used to work at a music store with him. And one day we were talking about strings and changing strings, because he used to change strings right at the counter when people came in to the store. So basically, like, I was standing there one day, and it's so lucky to have been there in his company, and there was something that he showed me that I want to show you later. But I just remember that before I do this, I need to raise the bridge height because I was getting some fret buzz earlier. And I think I know why. This guitar I've had for a couple of years now, and I remembered there was a point where I changed the pickup in it. The pickup is what makes an acoustic guitar an electric guitar. And it goes, it's a wire, and it's an electronic thing that goes underneath the bridge. And I think when I put it in, I didn't check the string height on it, and it was always low, and I didn't realize it. So now that I've realized the mistake, it looks like I already tried to shim it once. There's already a piece of wood in there. I tried to raise it, but I didn't really succeed, I guess. I think what happened is I changed the saddle one time. Because it came off, and when I did it, I filed this down because I wanted a low action, and I think I filed it too much. And I think the reason for the shim was to make up for the over-filing that I did. So I don't think the wood shim is going to work this time. I think I'm going to need something a little thicker, and I'm thinking like maybe a piece of cardboard like this. Just off like a Canada Dry, like sparkling water that I bought. I think all I got to do is cut out a little piece that's about the size of the little gully that's in there, and place that ever so carefully inside there. I think that should fix it. I'm going to put 2 in there just to be sure. And the great thing about only one string fretting out is I can actually test this to see if my shim is high enough or not, because I'm only going to put one string on at a time. So I'll put that one string on and see if it buzzes anymore. So this should be a little higher than it was before, without changing the height too much of the strings next to it, which would be a nightmare if I did that wrong. So now we're going to go to the strings. Okay, the strings, like I said, are color coded. You look on the back. You look on the back package. There's a key to what's what. There's actually like 7 strings on here for, I guess, for 12 string sets or whatever, or 8, 7 string guitar sets. But the highest pitched string and the thinnest string for the guitar is the E. And in this case, the string set that I bought, it goes by gauges. So the gauge of the string that I need is a 10, because I bought a 10 gauge string set. And that's how you tell the string gauges, the string set by the gauge. the best way I can explain it is each player plays differently, and each player wants certain performance out of different strings. The 10s are really light, a light gauge. I like the 10s because I'm more of a lead player than a rhythm player. I like to play a lot of bends and leads, and whereas some people are more of a strumming guitar player. They might want something a little thicker, an 11, a 12. I imagine there's higher gauges, but for this example, I'm going with the 10. So what you do is you have the ball end of the string. We won't stop shaking. There we go. The ball end of the string, right? And you take just the opposite way of the way they were just taken off. You take your pin and your ball, and you put your ball just in the hole, just a little bit, and then you put the pin in over the top of it and just push down until it stops. Now, for a little test, just pull on the string a little bit, give it some tension, make sure it doesn't come back out. If it stays in there, you're good to go. So right now I'm good to go. And then you're going to take the string. This is the part that I'm really making the video over, because this little trick changed the whole game for me back in the 90s. I'll repeat myself so that whoever is watching this can get it if you miss it the first time, okay? You take the string. You might want to put glasses on if you can't see the hole. You take the string, right? You put it through the hole towards the outside, right? Now this is where I used to go wrong. I would just tighten the string at that point. That was wrong. That will make your strings go out of tune. What I was taught, and I've been using to this day, is whatever direction the peg goes to tighten it, go to the opposite way, go under the string and fold it back over. Now I'm going to say that again. Whatever way the string, the tuner, makes it tight. In this case, if I'm tuning it downward and it's tightening, it would go this way, which is clockwise. You would take the string, go the opposite way, go underneath it. You kind of hold it with your other finger. Pull it through till it stops. Hold this string with your one finger, and then go back over the top of it. Because what that does is it creates a lock. And I never knew this until somebody showed me this. So now you tighten it, take the string winder or whatever you want to do. If you want to do it by hand, just for the sake of time, I'm going to use a string winder. And what you're going to do, if I can get it to stay on, is tighten it up, hold it down. While it's tightening, that lock that you've created is now locking underneath the string. It's very important that you get that right, because once you do, your strings will stay in tune more often than they won't. And I know this for a fact, because I have literally played guitar for 20 years, maybe longer. And I could not get my strings to stay in tune. And it was embarrassing for a while. And now one day, that somebody showed me this, it just changed my life. All right, so there's still a buzz. Even though I've raised the bridge, there's still a buzz. So there's something else going on. I might need a neck adjustment. Yep, right there it's fret now. Yep. And that's fine. I can adjust the neck. There's a little it's like a female Allen key that requires a certain Allen wrench to tighten it or loosen it. And I'm thinking that in this case, I think I need to tighten it. But I don't know yet. I'm getting ahead of myself with the maintenance part. All right, so that's better. I guess the string wasn't exactly in the slot. It's still buzzing right there. Another thing I want to mention is when you do a setup on your guitar, the setup needs to be kind of like calibrated with the string type. Well, a lot of guitar players will say, well, this is set up for 10s or this is set up for 12s. And what they mean is each gauge has a certain tension that it puts on the neck. I think what's happening in this case is this guitar was set up for 12s, and now that I put 10s on it, I need to set it up for 10s. The tweaks that you do. So I know obviously this needs some work. I mean, maybe it's the nut, maybe the nut's too low. Because the nut is set up for a bigger gauge string, you know, and I just put a lighter one on. So, all stuff to look at. I'm going to try two different things. First I'm going to try the neck adjustment. Then I'm going to try the nut, and if neither one of those work, then I don't know what to do at that point. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The whole purpose of this video is to change the strings and show that little trick at the top that I learned that changed my life. Okay, so here we are. Next string, according to the gauge, is purple. That's the B string. That will be purple. Same procedure. Put the balls just in the hole. Press the pin down until it stops. Pull the string out, see if it pops out. Put a little tension on there. If it doesn't pop out, you're good to go. And then you go to the top again. Now the same thing before, you put the string in the hole. And now that I've already established which way the string thing is from the last one, I know that I have to bend it backwards. And go underneath, hold the string down with your finger, put it all the way through till it stops, and then bend it over. And now you've created a lock. So now once you tighten it up, you hope that the string goes underneath that lock, because that will keep your strings in tune better. That one little thing just changed my life one day. So I mentioned earlier that my problem with the fretting out might be the bridge or it might be the nut. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be based on what the B string does. I can tell what the problem is. Because my B string is not fretting out. So it's probably the nut. I probably need maybe a new nut, which I can get from the store. I think that's B. Yeah, I need a new nut. Now, what a lot of people do when they have a nut problem and they can't get a nut right away, they'll take something like, people used to stick old matchsticks in there. But the problem is, when the string is on the bow nut, that's what gives it its crisp sound. When you put something in there to make it higher, it just deadens the sound. So if you do anything, put like a drop of glue in there or something. All right, so we have 2 strings on right now. Now what happens with strings, once they're on, they need to be stretched. They will go flat. And what happens is if you stretch them enough while they're on, that'll usually be enough. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll tune it to pitch. So let's say that's the pitch. Let's say B is, that's pitch. Then you give it some tugs, like you pull it, really put some pull on it, and let it go down. Let it go south. Let it go flat. And then just keep repeating, like making it sharp, back to pitch, until it stops going flat. And then you know it's stretched out. Like, let's say that's my pitch. Let's say E is, and I give it some tugs and some. It stopped going flat, so it's pretty much stretched out then. So I'm gonna have to get a nut for this. All right, so next string. Next string is the G string. And I don't want to hear any jokes about underwear right now. So the G string is the green one. It's the green one. According to Diodario's color code, G, green, hey, you know, G's the first letter of green. So anyway, here's the green one. Once again, just inside the hole, press the pin down till it stops, pull on it. If your pin stays there, you're good to go. Now you're going to the top again. All right. Now, this side of the headstock is going that way, and I can go the opposite way. Now, you'll see once I get to the other side, it's going to be the opposite. On electric guitars, a lot of times the tuning pegs will go one way, and you can just do it the same way 6 times, but on the acoustic, it's just the opposite, and a lot of Les Pauls are like that, headstocks. Anyway, so once again, put my finger down while I'm turning it. I've created the lock. This is to make sure that I wish you could see this. The string needs to go under the lock I made, and so while you turn it, it will keep a string where it needs to be for longer than if you didn't do that. Oh yeah, this is, I raised this way too high, oh my God. Oh my God. I hope it drops. I'm gonna have to do some filing. Oh my God. There it goes, it's dropping now. Oh my God, the strings are making a difference already. They sound so much better than the older ones that were, it was dead. What happens is you play and you got oil on your fingers and it stays on there. And we used to make a joke about finger crud. There's a story about, I was in a band, we lived on Long Island, and our bass player heard that if you can have longer string life without having to buy new strings if you boiled your strings. And Because bass strings are expensive. You know, when we were starting out, we were poor as hell, so probably spending all our money on alcohol. But anyways, that's another story. So one day we came home and we found he was boiling his strings. And we were like, why are there bass strings in a pot of water on the stove? And I'm boiling them. He's trying to get more light. He put them back, and God, you know what? It actually worked. He put it back. Remember, he put it back on the bass, and we were amazed. We're like, wow, you just saved yourself the cost of bass strings, whatever they were. They were like almost $10 a string. Like I don't remember in the 90s how much a pack of bass strings cost, but I'm sure it was $40 at least. All right, so anyways, what I was saying before is that when you put it through the hole on the opposite side of the neck, it winds the opposite way. So it's going to wind this way, which is counterclockwise. So when you make your lock, like we did on the first 3 strings, you want to bend backwards that way and come out this way, and then go over the top, hold your finger and go over the top that way. So now that when you tighten the strings, your string goes underneath the lock, and then you have something that's going to stay in tune. So I'm tightening, trying to keep that underneath. Once it's under there, you can probably let go of it. I'm just kidding. All right. Like I said earlier, when the strings are new, they need to be stretched. They're going to go flat. They're going flat already. Just me talking to you, they've gone flat. So I need to keep stretching until they stop. I'm saying this to you because, like, sometimes you go to a music store and you try a guitar and the strings aren't stretched out and it's just all out of whack, and you'd be like, oh, this guitar sucks, when it's actually not the guitar. It's just the strings haven't been stretched enough. Now that sounds good, a brand new string like that. See, they've gone flat. But don't fret. Because they do go flat, that's just what they do. Strings are gonna go flat, you know. Oh my God, I need a new nut. Sound a lot better once they're stretched out. You can sense the brightness of the strings are back. Still, they're brand new still. Okay, let's keep going. Let's finish this baby. All right. A is our next string. A is like the rock and roll chord It's important to have a good A string. Anyway. What color is A? According to our TheJerShow chart, A is red. A is red. So without poking myself in the eye with the string, I will put the red A, same way as before. Slightly in the hole, put the pin in. You don't have to have the same pins in the same slots as before. They're interchangeable. So I got the bottom part done, and I'm going to the top now. Now remember, on the headstock going this way, you got to go the opposite way. You got to go backwards, underneath. Oops, I didn't go underneath. I thought I did. There's so many strings now. I'm like, go over the top. Down, like create this so the string goes lock that you just made. Strings will stay in tune better once that lock is made. I'm not using a tuner. I've been playing guitar so much that I know just by hearing it pretty much what if I'm close. So when you strings go on, like I said, they're new. They need to be stretched out. So you get them to pitch, and you just pull on it. Give it a little tug, shake it, pull it, let it go. See how it's gone flat a little bit? That's the point. That's what you're supposed to do. And then come back up to pitch again. Tug it. Keep tugging. Keep tugging. Keep doing that back until it stops going flat. It's pretty much there right now. Because guitars don't really sound good. Now I know that this isn't ready yet. Wow, my stream just like shut off and turned back on. That's the weirdest thing. If it's even on right now. It's just my luck. Nobody was here earlier. Now there's 2 people watching and my stream is having issues. It's the way it's always been for me. If you're just joining us, I'm teaching how to change strings proper. It's not the greatest in the world. I was having some fret issues. They're gone, but I'm having them at the top. So I've learned through this experience that I'm going to need a new knob end of the world. And I was... No, nobody's here. Okay, last one. I guess I'm doing this for myself. The point of changing the strings is to get a nice crisp sound that I didn't have earlier because the strings were dead. I've got a new set of strings. I'm on my last one to complete the string change procedure, the process. You take the ball, you put the ball in the hole. You take the pin, you put the pin in there, you push down all the way, pull back up, make sure your pin doesn't pop out. It doesn't. We're in good shape at the top. Now, as I said earlier, if you want your strings to stay in tune, if you want your guitar to stay in tune without having to mess with it constantly, you'll do this like I did back in the day. when I learned how to do this. Put it through the hole. Okay? Put it through the hole, okay?
You look at that.
And then you,
Would you look at that?
once it's through the hole, kind of pull it all the way as far as you can. Or the word is taut. Pull the string taut, where it's tight and it's all the way tight. Then put it in the knot slot. Hold it with your finger. Go of the wind, or the way that it's going to be tightened. Once it's there, put your finger on it. Go over the top. Hold it. Turn it until that. So the other string is underneath the lock, and your strings will stay in tune longer. And I think that's a low E. I'm not sure, but it's got to be pretty close. And as I said, you got to stretch your strings out so they stay in tune better, and they will go flat at first. You hug and stretch. See how low it went? Gotta come back up. Stretch, 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 stretch. It's going low again. Bring it back up. Stretch, 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 stretch. Keep doing it until it stops stretching. It's getting there now. It's a little low instead of way low. Oh yeah. That sounds a whole lot better than when we started. Get away. Haven't seen you in a while. How you been? Have you just chose down to your thing? Now, as I said earlier, as you take the strings off, you realize the tuning pegs might be a little loose sometimes. That's normal. I've realized that myself. And I said to myself, Self, you need to go find a Phillips head screwdriver, and then you can take that and tighten. There's usually one screw holding the tuning peg onto the body of the neck and the head. So you just give it a little tweak, tighten her up. Sometimes if you tighten your screw and it keeps going, it means it's stripped out. You can put wood glue in there. Let it set, put the screw back in. So after the string change, I think the guitar sounds pretty good, minus this little buzz up here. Unless you're really listening for it. So I'm going to have to go to the music store now that I've discovered that, and get me a new nut. And I know the guy there, he does guitar work. He's going to try to sell the job to me. Hey, if you ever need work, I've been doing this for years, and I just listen to him go, and I wait till he runs out, and then I say, okay, keep that in mind. But I do most of my work myself, so I don't. Nice and crisp, just new strings. I love them. New strings make me happy. It's a little out of tune still, though. Like I said, new strings need stretching. So sometimes I'll just bend the heck out of it. You have to show the string who's boss, basically, like. They're still in stretch mode. They're still in the process of stretching. So like it takes all this work just to get a guitar sounding good. That's why most people don't want to do it. That's why they'll give it to a music store or somebody to change the strings, because it is, I enjoy doing it. I enjoy doing it because I feel like I'm creating freshness or something. Like I feel like I'm restoring something. There's a creative part of me that likes going from the to the you know. So obviously they're still not stretched out yet. Give them a yank, give them a tug. Sometimes I do this. I hold it and just like keep pulling them. Well, you gotta be careful. You can pull them too hard, especially like the thinnest one will just, I've snapped them before. So I try to be really careful when you stretch that top one. Still a little bit, but it is starting to sound better. Still a little bit out, but it's better. That one. I do have a tuner here someplace. So it's important to not really worry about whether it's in tune while you're changing it at first, but eventually after all the strings are changed, then you gotta get it in tune. Alright, this tuner needs batteries, and I have some. And the great thing about tuners is, back in the day, you needed to have an actual tuner, and they look like this, or then they turn them into a foot pedal, and now there's apps on your phone that you can download a tuner app and tune your guitar to your phone. I don't have that handy with me right now, so that's how you change strings. Now, depending on the length of time that a person plays on a guitar will determine how long it is before your next string change. If you play a lot like I do, well, I gotta say, honestly, I haven't been playing as much as I would have liked to lately. So the frequency of changing my strings I haven't changed them in a while because I haven't played in a while. But if you play a lot, like I used to, you're changing strings more often. So it's like you reap what you sow type of thing. Like if you play a lot of almost every day for days, then naturally you're gonna have to change strings sooner. Because I usually used to, but lately I haven't. So it's more or less like these strings haven't been changed in like a year. That's all. That's even high, so. What you want to do is make sure your top E is in tune, and you can tune everything to that. But that has to be on pitch, because that's the model that everything gets modeled after consecutively. Those two match. See, those are off. That one's off. It's just a result of the strings being still new and they're not quite stretched out yet. But they're so close. That sounds pretty good. Sounds good, except for like those 3 frets, which if I get another knot, it'll be fine. Or I might even be able to put a drop of glue in there and redo it. A little super glue in there. But for an old Ibanez, this sounds pretty good, I think. And that's how I change strings, based on some things that I was taught. Now, one last thing. Now I had this tool that I mentioned earlier, which has a peg puller, a string winder. It also, if I can find it, I just had it with me, and now I just feel like I've lost it. It also has a string clipper, which I have yet to try out. I want to do it live on the air here to see how it works. I got it. Okay, I got it. All right. So this tool, it's made by TheJerShow. I bought it at the music store. I love it. It has a string winder, a peg puller, and at the top it has some string clippers. It's like a almost multi-tool, all in one. So I want to see how good it clips strings because I've never done this. This is the first time on the TheJerShow. Okay. Let's see. Oh my God! It clipped it right off. I have a friend Wade, and one day he was looking at my headstock, and I hadn't clipped the strings off yet. And I think he was like, "What is that spaghetti mess?" Because what I used to do is, for whatever reason, because I'm weird, I guess, I used to take my fingernail and pull the string, and I would let it go, and it would have this wind, and I would have these little windy circles all over, and it looked like messy hair. And ever since Wayne kind of yelled at me, or Wade, I was like, I'm gonna cut my strings. Because I don't want people yelling at me. I'm kidding. That didn't bother me that much. But I'm clipping it. Oh, I'm clipping it now, baby. Clip. And see, the weird thing about it is it's not even really sharp. It might be sharp on one side of the thing. So it's almost like a pair of scissors almost. But for strings. It's pretty well made. I gotta say this TheJerShow string tool is pretty well made. For $9, you can't go wrong with all these things in it. It beats carrying around 3 different things and being, it's all right there. Because if you lose that, you might be in trouble. But I digress. There. TheJerShow, love him. Love it. Still kind of a little bit wacky. I had it. At one point I had it beautiful. I lost it.